what a time to choose to come
Come
off
to
your
the
country
UK.
to go to the UK.
Oh my God.
January was like the thick of the winter.
Yeah.
And then we got into the train. And you know how you think you're wearing winter jackets. The winter jacket you get in Nigeria is not the same winter jacket like the one here. That one does not catch. That one doesn't catch it doesn't hold the cold though. Hey. Hello. I think that should be the first thing to say. This is not a conventional kind of recording, where we're talking about, hello, welcome to this podcast, welcome or welcome to this podcast. This is This is just two girls, so two ladies, like gisting. So we want it to be as natural as possible because when we met a few years ago, so you can say a few years ago, right?
Yeah,
right
we can. We can. It's been what? We met in 2022, I think. Yes. My department was having something.
Oh, she's a lawyer, by the way. She's a lawyer. She doesn't look it, right?
No, I don't. I don't.
Badass lawyer.
I try not to look like a lawyer. I try not to even talk like one.
Not charge and bail you. Well, can't even do charge and bail here in the UK. So
God forbid. Anyway, so we were having this program, and then we needed to get sensitization and awareness out there about it. And then we were just, was it I can't remember. It was a student.
It was a student stuff, and I was going about doing our own recording, stuff. Trust me now, always in the media thing, doing my stuff.
Yes.
And then
she stopped at our stand and she was like, what's this program about? So we started talking to her. And then she said, I actually present on an FM. Yeah. And she got us an interview. And I was one of the people that went on that interview. And then during the interview, she was asking us questions about the program. And then that was how we clicked. And then I think there was something else we did together again. I can't remember. But
then she started sneakily following me up. You know that what do you call that thing when you're stalking?
Yeah,
I didn't even know she was stalking.
I was stalking her. There was a day she now made a post, and that was when it occurred to me that she's a widow as myself.
Like myself. So I think after I got the award from the UK Community Radio Award for one of the staff production that I did. So I remember my lecturer then insisted. I had finished school, but had graduated actually. He insisted that I write a backstory about my life up to the point where I got the award and everything. And I was like, oh, okay. Are you sure? He was like, Afi, be as vulnerable and as open as possible, but only in a way that you're comfortable with. And I realized that was actually the first time I was going to be sharing my life openly as someone who had lost her husband. I hate being called a widow. I don't know why.
Don't we all?
But yes, so that was the first time I was really sharing it openly, and then talking about how I had lost my husband, or how my husband had died, because I have not really, I've not lost him, but he died. And then how I had to relocate to the UK with my two children, and the journey I had to go through struggling as a single parent now, and you know how it is. This is not just about single parents. So it felt like, you know how it is when you had a husband, you grew up in, or you were in an environment where aside having your husband, you had support. A help, yes, you had support, you had family members, you had friends who were always like coming around, you had someone in the house who was assisting you to do things, sometimes two of them, and then
at little or no cost at all.
Exactly. Especially if you compare it to what it's like here in the UK. And then I packed my bags, with all of the challenges, the issues, the depression. Yes, because I actually went through depression as well. And I packed up my things and my children and came to this country where
this cold
I knew
country.
Almost nobody. In fact, I came to a community where I did not know anyone at all. The day, how people land in the abroad, And when you land, there's somebody waiting for you, you know. You have a house to go to.
A welcoming committee.
Do you get? As in, at least you will land that person's house first before, to balance small before you go. No, this was from airports. In fact, I was even fortunate I had someone who came to like pick us up, sort of, you know, to meet us.
Is it from Boma
University?
University?
No. So the person is a friend to my late husband.
Oh.
So he was on his way to work, but he was like, oh, let him come. He picked us up and he realized that, we didn't have anywhere to go to. So he was like, okay, and then we can't come to his house. So
you had not made any arrangement for where you were going to stay?
Let's just say the arrangement fell through, you know, like it didn't work out, you know. Yeah. We'll leave it at that. So he picked us up. We got a taxi from there straight to Waterloo Station, this really gigantic station where you didn't know anything, and you were like almost lost. But I was just glad we were there, and we bought our train ticket, and then we got a McDonald's to eat as well. Fortunately, you know. Good. And then this
was winter, wasn't it?
Friend,
it was winter.
January, yes. What a time to choose to come off your country to go to the UK.
Oh my God.
January was like the thick of the winter.
Yeah.
And then we got into the train. And you know how you think you're wearing winter jackets. The winter jacket you get in Nigeria is not the same winter jacket like the one here. That one does not catch. That one doesn't catch it doesn't hold the cold though. Hey, anyways, leave the story for another time. In fact, I remind me to gist you a story about my children. The first time I got them a winter jacket from here. Anyway, that's
the difference, right?
Yes, that's just for another time. So basically, I now like bundled myself, my children into the train so it's just from Nigeria to the UK. In fact, we did a detour because we didn't come straight. We went through Qatar, I think.
Doha.
Doha, I think, yeah. So
you had to stop a layover.
And then we came to the UK and then straight to the train station to Bournemouth here.
Didn't you have to quarantine or something?
Oh, of course. We had to quarantine by ourselves in the hotel room anyway. So we're in the hotel room for the whole weekend.
That must have been expensive.
You know? I stayed in a hotel for 2 weeks plus. Over 2 weeks. What are you saying? You're saying expensive. Leave that thing. Huh?
Wow.
Anyway, for my children to be telling me when we went about, that's another thing, looking for a house here. And then my children were like, one point, I was like, Mommy, it's like they don't like children in this country. Because every house we got, when it looks like it's favorable and you tell them that you have children and they're like, sorry, no, my children have to tell me that. Anyways, and then you're just alone to pay the bill. They're wondering, this one, if you know, people, we can't chase them out of the house. So please, would rather not give them the house. You know, that kind of mindset. Anyway,
coming as a student, not as a worker, not exactly. As an employee. So.
And coming with our Niger currency to the foreign exchange rates here. Okay.
Oh, God. Wow.
It felt like everything was against
Everything was working,
quotes, you know. But, yeah, so that's how we got into this country with all of the baggages we came with and stuff. And
how many suitcases?
I carry suitcase, man, I not lie. I don't carry clothes, but I carry food stuff. Well, what I meant is, so I just spoke pidgin. In other words, I think I came here with about 6. So imagine me with 2 children struggling with about 6 bags, you know.
Mostly filled with Nigerian
food stuff, because I wasn't sure what food, you know, would be used to eat or get here and everything. So we hardly had clothes. In fact, I remember that we repeated our clothes. People didn't
and then
know,
you had to layer up, didn't you?
For a long time, you know.
You had to layer up.
Oh, yes, of course.
Clothing.
Oh, my God. You know what? I remember someone saying that UK, you can't do a spontaneous lovemaking with your with your husband, you know, because no matter how it is, by the time you're done pulling the first layer, the second layer, the third layer, the person's already sleeping off, or you're already tired. I beg, too many layers in your body. I beg, let's move on to other things, you know. So, but yeah, with a lot of layers just to get the colds, you know, out of the system. But yeah. That's my story of coming here for now. Let's hear yours. And,
oh my God.
You know, the thing is, I'm not saying it's easier when you're 2 doing it together, but I think it will still be a little bit easier because you're 2 of you, you know, taking care of the 2 children. But this was just me.
It would have been a lot easier. You know, there's something about marriage that helps you to realize over time that this person is your burden bearer as you are for them. So when you are lost without that, when you do not have that privilege anymore, it takes a lot to walk through that, and then to continue to do that day in, day out. And then if you are doing it in a new country like the UK, with all of these things that you talked about, coming into the country where you know no one, where the weather itself is terrible, where you tend to think people are hostile. They are not necessarily hostile, but that's just their way of, let me mind my business. I'm minding my business, I'm keeping to myself. So you might find that very overwhelming, and you are doing it with 2 children. But my own story is somewhat different. I came alone before my children joined me. And despite that, I can't imagine what you went through doing it with the children at the same time. I did it by myself, and it was crazy. You talked about the jackets that we bought from Nigeria. Yeah. Mine was really oversized. It was really oversized. And when I was choosing, I was like, this looks, and my mom was like, oh, this is not bad. So I picked a jacket. It was horrible green. And then when I got into Heathrow, I was like, no.
Green is one of my favorite colors. No, why are you calling it horrible green?
It was terrible.
I'm putting on some kind of green right now.
Yeah, this is a lovely shade of green. That one, I don't even know what shade that was. But the first thing I did when I was able to was to get rid of that jacket. But anyway, I came into Heathrow with 2 suitcases and what's the other one? The third one that we get to put on our person or close to us, the hand luggage. So, but my suitcases were bad because one of the wheels of one of them, it was really difficult moving through Heathrow and then finding people to help with directions. So my friend had helped me book a coach, but I missed it because I was trying to maneuver this big place and I wasn't used to that. And you're doing it with 2 extra stuff that you needed to, and then in the cold as well. So I missed my coach. I had to get another booking done all by myself, and I needed to navigate that. When you're talking to someone over the phone, it was a National Express. I needed to book it, and they were trying to help me, talk me through it, but they weren't understanding what I was saying, and I was trying to communicate to them as well. So it was a little bit frustrating. Eventually, I was able to do it, and I got to where I was going in the night. But the difference between my story and yours is this. I had a friend who threw open her house for me. So I was walking into a home where they had dinner waiting for me, but it took a very long time. I got into this country 12:30 on a Friday. I didn't get to book his place in Cambridge until maybe 7 or 8. So it was really a stressful journey.
But it made a whole lot of
difference. It did. And this was a time when we needed to quarantine, So when she did that, she made her place available. It was like life-saving for me. And
so
she
you
said
had somebody
something.
You were chatting with during quarantine.
I did. And she said something to me. I want you to
hotel room with the girls alone.
Oh, I can imagine. That was why I was like, you must have gone through something else. I had her. I had the husband as well. They were taking me to places. They were helping me with stuff. And more importantly, they said they needed me to feel that UK might be cold, but that you have a ready home for yourself. Like, even if it's for 1 week that we are going to have you, just feel a sense of home. And it was really helpful. So by the time I was leaving to come to Bournemouth, I didn't want to leave. I was that comfortable there. So my children didn't join me until like a year later.
But then you were able to navigate school.
I was.
Oh God! What time? When did you come? Did you come at
January?
Did you come early enough to meet the orientation and all?
Yes, I did. I made that.
How lucky you were! So imagine me. I came. I missed the orientation. I was just trying to play catch up. For months after that, I was playing catch up.
I can imagine.
It was horrible. I remember one of those days we came out. So basically getting into the intricacies of being a single parent here in the UK.
Yeah.
You're in a hotel room and you come into the country and they tell you that you cannot leave children alone at home. You do not have people to be. Of course, you understand you can't leave children alone, And then I was packaging them with all the layers and
they couldn't even get into school at that time.
No, they couldn't because you needed an address first. If you don't have a permanent address, you cannot enter or register for school.
Oh, you did
or
amazing.
Apply for it.
I didn't know
So
you did it.
I had to bundle them every time I was going to school. We would go together. They would
Extra
wait
tickets?
for me. Oh yes. Oh, did I forget to tell you that? Because I didn't know. I've never been to Bournemouth. I'd never been to the UK, by the way. And the hotel we booked was after pool. So what I'm talking about is we're talking about how do you calculate this distance now? It's like 1 hour 20 minutes
On the bus?
1 hour on the bus.
Wow.
About 1 hour on the bus. That I had to travel.
That's some journey.
And you know what that means when you say 1 hour? I mean, like I think it was more than 1 hour actually, and I had to take 2 buses. So one bus, we had to walk from the hotel we were staying to the bus stop, which was like 13 to 15 minutes walk in the cold. And we went through the subway, and then we were so scared because the subway is like, beneath the bridge. And like, I hope the movies we watch where somebody comes up.
You watch too many movies.
Too many movies. So, and then we'll get to the bus stop and wait for the bus. The bus will take us to Pool bus stop. And then from Pool bus stop, we'll now get a bus to school.
Nice.
Coming back was the same thing, And then the girls would come with me and, wait around while I'm trying to do my studies and stuff. Because I didn't just want to take them into the lecture room and everything. It was really a small class.
Drawn attention to them, yeah.
Well, it so happened that one day we were about to leave. In fact, we had left. We were outside. And I saw my younger daughter shivering. She was shivering badly in the cold. It was that bad. Wow. And I looked at her and I was like, can you make it out? Like, can you? She's like, Mommy, I want to go back. I'm cold.
To Nigeria?
No, I want to go back to the room. I'm cold. And I felt so sorry for them. We had to turn back.
You couldn't go to class that day?
Who would?
Oh, God.
So these are just some of the difficulties that we face as single parents, And I know it's not just a widow thing, it's a single parent. So we're just sharing our stories so that you get to know that these are some of the things we face. It's not about complaining. It's just trying to put the reality out there, for people and to let you know that hopefully from our stories that we share, I mean, we're not even trying to teach anybody anything, but then we hope that you'd be able to gain some sort of strength,
yes,
in this conversations.
Most importantly, and
it
hope.
Should be, and hope, yeah.
Because you could be down and out, but it doesn't mean that the end has come. I think the thing about life is, no matter what it throws at you, what are you doing with it?
So today, after going through all the struggles and stuff, did you get your master's?
Oh, I did. I did. And you tend to think that it's you would get it, like it's a sure thing. But I found out that there were some of my classmates that didn't.
Yeah, me too.
There were some of my classmates that didn't make the cut. Some of them, they had to face disciplinary committee, and then they had to maybe redo their dissertation. Mm-hmm. But it shows that you shouldn't take anything for granted, But I did. I made it, and I'm really happy. I mean, I had to save. I had to borrow money just to come to the country. And then getting the master's was worth it at the end of the day.
You forgot to say that you had to work as well.
Oh, I had to work.
You're doing school, you're working. How many jobs were you running?
Oh, don't let us talk about the jobs. Especially during when we had the spring break, we had the summer break. Mm-hmm. Those were the times when we could really work a lot. And I was doing that back to back to back. It was really crazy because
you had bills to pay.
I had to pay the bills.
Loans that you needed to
and I wanted to bring my children into the country to join me. So it was crazy. I remember my landlord told me one day, both of them, they said, "We hardly see you in the house." I said, "I'm sorry." It was just something you needed to continue doing, because at the end of the day, you're trying to add up to some financial goal you're trying to meet. And so we just kept going.
It's just you doing it.
It's just me.
When you were with your husband, it was easier to say both of you are planning together and you're saving the money together. You're bringing two people bringing income. You know, there's a lot to that. But when you're alone,
you're carrying you're carrying it all by yourself. Mm-hmm. So even when you're tired, when you're exhausted, you can't stop. Mm-hmm. And I recall telling someone that one of the things I'm grateful for during that period of crazy back-to-back workload was me not breaking down. I mean, now I'm 40 and I know why it's very important. I know why it's very important for me. Yeah, you need to know that I'm 40. Why it's very important for me to take my vitamins seriously. But at that time when I came into the country, even I remember my friend telling me, you need to take vitamin D. I said, I'm black. I don't need vitamin D. So I just shrugged it off, not knowing that I was going to pay the price, later. But I'm grateful that I went through all that and I didn't break down. I did not break down. So I'm grateful for that.
And the thing about this place is when we talk about doing a job, honestly, it's a job. This is not like Nigeria,
no.
Where you're coming from. Like,
no.
You're working really hard.
Yep.
So as a student, you have to do 20 hours. So imagine trying to leave off 20 hours every week. You're leaving off 20 hours to feed not just yourself, you're feeding children as well. Now, I was doing my school work, so I was doing school. I was working in 2 different companies. I was volunteering in 2 different organizations, in a radio station and with the Salvation Army.
Oh.
Because these are things I needed to build my CV, and that's what you need to understand here. In this country, when you come as an immigrant or as an international, everything doesn't just fall into. There are people who are lucky like that, but then majority of us, we need to struggle. See, all that, I was working with the BBC, media action in Nigeria. So I was like at the top of my career, well-known sort of, in my program. And then I come into the country and all that doesn't count. You're starting all over. You need to show them that you have an experience here, a UK experience. So I basically needed to build all of that. So I was volunteering in a radio station. I was volunteering with the Salvation Army. I was doing 2 jobs, in the care sector so that I could pay my bills,
Pay your bills, pay your children's bills.
Well, yeah, because they got to eat, The good thing about school is free here, but then every other thing is not free. For example,
school trips,
school bus, taking the bus to school.
Even school trips.
It's just
they have organized school trips,
yeah,
like
do.
museums and stuff.
Organized school trip, that one's not. It's a luxury at that time. it was a luxury. Seriously, let's even just talk about taking the bus, because you might not be fortunate to get accommodation near their school or a school near where you're staying. So that means you needed to take a bus, and you have to pay for that bus.
Yeah. You navigated a lot. The stress for me was working towards the goal of bringing my children into the country, but you brought them right from the beginning.
I couldn't leave them. I didn't have the heart. And remember, okay, so my husband died in 2020. That was during just the COVID period, the thick of it. And I came in 2022 January, so that was just a year and a few months. One of the things that I kept saying to myself, kept hitting hard in my mind was, if I leave these children, it would look like their father left them and their mom abandoned them.
I had a struggle.
I just couldn't, because I felt it was just too soon. They were hurting as much as I was hurting. And I couldn't afford to make them hurt even more. Even though the persons, I had people I could have left them with who would love them, as much as I did, who would take care of them really well. But I just was thinking about their emotional health. I was thinking about their mental health. I was thinking about what this would cost to them, what would they think, or how would they think about me in future? And honestly, I didn't have the heart to leave them behind.
And then,
people thought I was crazy. People thought I was stupid. People thought, you can't do this. You can't. It's going to be too hard.
It must have been.
Oh, yes, of course it was. But then I also think that it also was easier because they were with me.
Probably.
And they made the journey worth it.
Probably. Let me tell you one thing that you were saved from bringing them. You were saved from guilt. I had that. I had guilt every day. And I remember I would call my sister to check up on them, how they are doing. Because I'm not the helicopter parent that hovers around the children, kind of. But given the distance, you don't know what's going on. And every time I get a call from my mom or my sister, I'm worried that maybe something is wrong with the boys. But often I would call and then I would say, oh, I think maybe you should have done this with the boys, or they could have, especially maybe in choosing clothes, little things that I know that if I were there, I'll be the one doing. And then I remember sometimes it will spark an argument between my sister and myself, because in her mind, she's thinking that I am questioning how she's parenting my children. And that wasn't it. I was trying to make up for, like, be involved, even from afar. But it was really challenging for me. So I dealt with the guilt. I would call my friend. She's also in Nigeria. And I'll call her and I'll start sobbing on the phone. I don't want to leave these boys. La, 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 la. And she would say, remember, this was a choice you needed to make. Remember that at the time you felt that was the best thing to do. The boys will understand. Because I was thinking in my mind, they will be unforgiving. They'll feel abandoned after their dad, obviously, left them to the great beyond. I didn't want to do that, but at the end of the day, everyone that I knew said the only way that she can manage is to leave the boys. And so dealing with the guilt for that 1 year, Afi, it would have driven you crazy.
I know.
It would have.
It would have.
So I think you did good, but I don't know how you did it.
Strong.
I don't know how you did it. Bringing them in together with yourself. I remember when I came into this country, I wanted to sit on the floor of the airport, Terminal 4. I wanted to sit down and cry.
I know, right? Yeah.
You had that feeling? Mm-hmm. Now imagine having, and my boys they were practically toddlers at the time. I don't know how, because you're supposed to be strong for them. I couldn't sit down. But that was what I wanted to do. It was driving me crazy.
Can I tell you when my crying period started? Was at a hotel when we couldn't pay for stuff. We were looking for accommodation. We couldn't get. We were running out of money. And the hotel bill we needed to pay to extend it. And, it was beginning to drain the pocket. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, what have I done to my children? Not just me. I'm like, oh God, not my sake, for my sake, for this children's sake, because I feel like I've done something wrong bringing them, And fear gripped me. I've never known fear like that in my entire life.
Like you were thinking
through worse things, but I've never felt that way.
The fear of not being able to fend for your children.
Exactly. The fear that these children I would lose them. The fear that I brought them to suffer, and I cried. I remember crying to a stage, and I told my daughter, as at then they were just 8 plus and 10 plus. Yeah, 8 plus and 10 plus. I remember telling them, can you pray for me? Pray for me. I was shaking, not out of cold, out of fear, because the room was warm, but I was still shaking. I was shivering, not for a day, not for 2 days, not for a week, just fear lived with me. At some point I said, no, I needed to do deliverance for myself. I said, God, you need to deliver me. I'm serious. Until God gave me a word. And then, even then the fear subsided, but then I realized that the depression was still holding on tight to me. It hadn't let go. And so many other things. Of course, fortunately, things began to turn gradually, but then we needed to experience a lot of things that's different from how you are. So imagine coming from having, not necessarily having a lot, or having too much, but having, to a place where you weren't having. From a place where you used to give, you're the one that gave, to a place where you needed to be the one receiving from people.
Oh my God.
From a place where you were standing tall, you were bold, you could speak to crowd, bring people together, meet governors and ministers, and you're anchoring stuff, to a place where you couldn't even talk in class. You could even you were like a mice, be mouse. You say, I just couldn't, I didn't have the boldness or the confidence anymore. It was crazy. So yeah, there was a lot to work on.
Can I ask a question? At this time when you were going through all this, who were you talking to? Friends, anybody?
Yes, of course. You had to talk to friends. You had to talk to people to pray for you. I mean, at the end of the day, people came through for me. And those people, I am really grateful to you. You know yourselves. I am really grateful. Sam, thank you so much, for it. Sam, I appreciate you. You know yourself, And of course, my husband's friend, I told you that came to pick us up from the airport.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, because he introduced me to his cousin, Sam, who was really helpful. And then, of course, how can I forget my very, 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 very good friend. Would you want me to mention her name? I mean, I really appreciate you. You know who I'm talking about. Thank you so much. You've been there with us and for us, and she sent us our first Nando's that we ate here. We're in a hotel. We hadn't eaten any food with pepper for so long.
So you had Nando's chicken.
And then she sent
chicken peri peri
Nando's for us, and I had to go pick it up, and I was so grateful. Marvin, thank you so much. Okay, I have to just say your name out. Thank you so much, for just being there, for being a listening ear. I mean, even my sisters, they were so worried, so concerned, calling everyone everywhere. Oh, where are you? Help! Oh, my sister and her husband. My God, they carried my matter on their head like somebody selling bread.
You see,
hawking bread on the streets.
Oh my.
Thank you. And then, of course, later, God started bringing people to me who were really helpful. But honestly, that period, you needed to have people talking with you, praying with you. Even my church from Nigeria, my church members really helped. They supported because, they were trying to get people to connect me with people. And some of those people, that they connected me with, we are really very close now. So
yeah, you start forming new friendships.
People at that period. You need people.
Yeah.
You can't do it by yourself. And that's what the devil wants to do. The devil wants to isolate you, make you feel that you're alone in this thing, Trust me, you might look like you're alone, but you're not alone. There are people there that God is ready to use, to help you in those situations. And that's the period you need to reach out. That's not the period to withdraw. No.
To close yourself off from people. Yes.
That's not the period.
Yes.
It's not.
I remember with my friend whom I stayed with, Buki. So I got to Bournemouth University the day I had to do the orientation. And without doing what's that thing we need to do before we have access to our ID card and all that you can use the library? Registration?
Yeah, some kind of.
Yeah, we needed to. And then obviously money wasn't complete the tuition. And then how Bournemouth University will freeze the email they sent to you, and then you just start sweating and start crying. So I was sitting there. I think I was trying to wire some money from Nigeria. I wasn't just working. And I went to the finance office and I was showing them. They said, well, it's none of their problem. It's not their business. I just needed to do this or else I will not be able to do this. So I just sat there in the library and I was crying. It was at that very moment Buki called me. Don't forget that I left Cambridge to come down to Bournemouth. And she was like, what's going on? And I said, I just started crying. She was like, don't you know that you have people around you? Don't you know that God has positioned angels to help you? Why are you thinking you can do this by yourself? So she knew what I needed at the time. In fact, she actually helped me with the money. And then I had to pay her back. But at that time, it was as if someone saw me feeling very isolated in a strange country, in a strange environment, though I chose to come, and got her at that very time to call me. I didn't even think of calling anybody. I just wanted to, and that's my nature. I want to go through that struggle by myself and not reach out to people. But she just called. And that was it. So when you talk about finding help, I think in widowhood, it's very important to know that you can't do it by yourself. And there's the part where you need to know you need to be, you feel bad about receiving charity or help, but you need help. In every sense of the word, whether it's shoulder to cry on, whether money, whether food. You know, people that will come and help you with your shopping or anything at all that you need, even if it's a loan. You can't do it by yourself.
No.
So in that regard, I would say God has been awesome to us. I even the friend that booked my ticket, the coach ticket, when I first came into the country, there was one of my, I call her my big sister now. She was willing to journey down from Bedford to give me warm Nigerian rice with stew, just so I could have a feel of home.
You don't know how important that is here in the UK. Like that rice from home, that bread from home, that's a going from home, that's peppered stew.
In winter again, in winter.
That rub. Aboniki from home. Hey, God.
Oh, Lord.
It went a lot.
It did, didn't it?
It did.
And thank God for the gift of men. That's all I can say. However, it's still not easy. Or can you say it's still easy?
It didn't ease you. Yeah, but I mean, this is just a background to us, to the stories we're going to be sharing with you, you know.
And how we found one another.
Yes, how we found ourselves, you know. It's really, it's good to find yourself. That's just what I would say, you know, where you share similarities, similar things, you know, where you can encourage yourselves. Because somehow, I don't know how she did it, but she just felt, just knowing that who I am, you know, made her feel very encouraged. Meanwhile, I didn't even know what was going on with her.
And she didn't know, because, you know, we come to school and we're all smiles, we're all business. I mean, UK is not a place where you wear your sorrows on your face. And when I saw her story that day, I just sent her a message. I said, I did not realize, because all the while I'd been praying for someone. You know, I see single mothers, but I needed someone that is a widow. Not because I'm wishing that people could be widows like myself, but I needed someone to understand, as an immigrant, you are a widow, you have children. And she also has 2 children, just like, it was like I was just reading myself. And then she lost her husband through a sickness, just as I did. So I connected with that. And we had, to think that we had met before then, we had done a couple of things and we didn't know that back end of each other's lives. So I felt very, very connected to her. And I kept saying, Afi, we need to get together. We need to get together. We have a lot to share.
A whole lot. And we want you to stick with us, okay? Because we'd like to share some more stuff.
Yes.
You know? And if you want to share with us as well, I think you can feel free to share with us, okay? Just share with us. You'll get to know. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to us. We'll have further episodes down the line. So hope you get to grow with us as we talk about our life experiences in the UK as widows, single mothers.
So, and don't forget, it's not a structured thing. It's just knickknacks. Just say
Unfiltered.
That okay? Exactly. That's Unfiltered. The word, you know. So stay with us and thank you. I am Afi.
And I am Fumi.